You are watching the Constantly Loved podcast with your host, Destiny Glendon.
Hello, you guys. I am so excited to be filming another podcast episode. This one's going to be so much fun. I actually have a list in my notes app of different episode ideas. And I think this week is going to be a really good one. But this first episode is going to be more of like a discussion format, kind of like my last season where I did the first episode explaining more like personal things and then the rest were Bible study reading. I think that's what this season is going to look like as well. And that might be something that becomes more consistent, where the first episode is like a discussion or like a life talk and then the rest are Bible studies. But you guys should let me know what you think about that. Is that something that you guys think I should do? But I guess first I should film this episode so you guys know. So let's do that right now. I'm so excited. I hope you guys are having a great day. If it's nighttime when you're watching this, I hope that you had a great day. And if it's the morning, then I pray that you have the best day. And I pray that the Lord gives you his joy throughout the whole day. But yeah, so I don't have coffee because it is in the evening. And I've had dinner, I've had coffee, I had breakfast, I had lunch. It's been a good day. I ate whole healthy foods. I did eat some pasta, but it wasn't super unhealthy because I didn't have like a bunch of creamy like sauce with it. So we're doing okay. We're watching what we eat. And so what I am doing right now is drinking water. So I don't have coffee, but I do have something with me, you guys. But let's just go ahead and pray, and then we'll dive into our discussion. Thank you, Lord, for this day and for each person who's watching right now. I am so grateful for them, Father, and I pray that you bless them in all that they do, because you already say that everyone is blessed through you as long as they accept your gift, Father. And so I pray that you allow everyone who is watching to know you and your goodness, and that you give them joy, Lord, that your joy is so good. And I know that you want them to have that joy and have the desires of their heart, Father. So I pray that you grant it to them. And I also pray that you give us wisdom and understanding through our discussion and in all of the following episodes that are going to come after this one where we read your word. I pray all of this. Oh, and Jesus, please also give me the words to say, because I know that I have a list in my notes app, but you know I need the words. Okay. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, you guys. So I have a little list. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about was how your age does not matter. Like, the Lord can use you no matter how old you are. And I just want to tell you that because I don't know if you're watching and you're 14, or I don't know if you're watching and you're a college student, or if you're like 30 or 50 or older than that. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are, the Lord can use you. And I just think that that's really important to note, because I think when you're young, you think people are looking at you and they're like, oh, well, they're not wise enough to be of any value, right? Like, I feel like I've thought that at some point, especially since I think that there's certain things that I have wisdom about that I like to share with other people. And then I'm like, well, I'm just a college student and college students don't usually know this. So like, if I tell people about that, then I'm frowned on. Like, it's my age, you know? And I think likewise, like if you're older, then you're kind of like, I've already lived all of my life. I've fulfilled my purpose. Like, I don't feel like I'm being used by the Lord anymore. But the thing is, if you are alive and breathing, the Lord will use you. Or maybe you need somebody else to be a vessel to bring the Lord to you. But if you believe in the Lord and you are alive and breathing, that means that he still has a purpose for you. He still has a plan for you, and that you are useful to him, no matter your age. And so I don't want you to think that you're too old or you're too young, because no matter how old you are valuable to the kingdom of the Lord, and he loves you and he values you, and he chose you and he blessed you and he redeemed you, and he did all of these things. And I know that before we had mentioned Jeremiah 1:5, and Jeremiah's reaction whenever the Lord told him that he was going to speak for him was literally to say that he's just a youth. Like, he downgraded himself. And so not only was he allowing his age to get in the way, or it seemed like, but he was the one telling himself that. Like, he said, I'm too young, like, I'm just a youth, nobody was gonna listen to me. And like, I just want you to know, I need you to know individually, like, even if other people think that you're too young or you're too old, I just need you to know I did that backwards, you to know that you are valuable no matter your age. Like, others might say you're too young, others might say you're too old, but it does not matter as long as you know. And so let's read Jeremiah 1:5, where he says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations. Then I said, Ah, Lord God, behold, I do not know how to speak, for I am only a youth. Guys, he literally just downplayed himself and said, like, Lord, I don't know how to do this. I'm just a youth. Like, I'm too young. And this is what the Lord said. But the Lord said to me, do not say I am only a youth. For to all whom I send you, you shall go, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. So you guys, the Lord literally looks at him and he says, don't do that. Don't do that. And I'm pretty sure that he's doing the same thing to us. Like, he looks at us and he's saying, don't downplay yourself because you're too young or you're too old. Like, you are of value. I told you to do this. I have a purpose and a plan for you. So don't act like you're not worthy, because I've deemed you worthy. And so I just think that that's something that everybody really needs to get a grasp of, because when the Lord tells you to do something, he equips you. When he sent the disciples out in Matthew and in all of the Gospels, when he sent the disciples out, he didn't just say, go out, like, figure it out yourself. No, he equipped them. And he equipped Jeremiah here when he put words in his mouth. So it doesn't matter how old you are, the Lord will equip you for what he wants you to do. And I just think that we oftentimes are down on ourselves, especially like in our culture. I think that with social media, people tend to compare themselves a lot, right? And I just think that the Lord has a plan for you, no matter what that may be. And so you shouldn't downplay yourself and say, like, oh, I'm not worthy. I'm not old enough. I'm too old. It says it right here in Jeremiah, not to frown upon himself. Like, it literally says, don't say I'm just a youth. And then the Lord equips him and gives him the words that he needs. So I need you guys right now to say, I am worthy of doing whatever the Lord wants me to do, no matter my age. There's another verse. I think it's in Timothy, but I don't know if it's first or second. So we're going to look it up. I should have prepared for this in advance, but it's okay. We're going to find it. Okay, 1 Timothy 4:12. I guess I can just read it on the Bible app. It says, "Don't let anyone look down on you for being young. Instead, make your speech, behavior, love, faith, and purity an example for other believers." So literally, this here is saying, don't let people look down on you for being young. Like, literally everything that you do can be an example to others. Like, you don't have to be super old or super wise. The way that you live is an example, but also the words that you speak are an example. Like, just because you are young does not make you incapable. And I think that this is something I'm really passionate about, because I feel like people tend to look specifically at college students and be like, oh, well, like, they're in college, so they're in a transitional stage, so they're not prepared for the world. Like, they just got out of high school, so they're still kids, but they're still like turning over into adults, but they're not fully equipped for what they need in the world yet. And I think that that is so untrue. Like, there might be some truth to it, but I do think a majority of it is just like an assumption, you know? And so I'm really passionate about this, because even the Bible says not to frown upon your age. Like, everything that you do is valuable, you guys. And I know that these verses talk about being young, but I think even when you hit a certain age and you're feeling too old to be valuable or useful, or you feel like your purpose is already past, you're alive. Like, clearly, God still wants you. God still loves you. He's still using you. You are valuable. All of you guys are valuable. Like I said, that is why I chose the name for Constantly Loved, because I want you to understand that you are loved and God is using you for his purpose. So you are valuable and you are loved constantly. Okay, so that kind of touches on my first point. And I'm sorry that I was very passionate about that, but I think that that's something God put within me. So we're not going to be upset about that. But I need a sip of water if you can't hear that in my voice, so hold on. Okay. I think I'm good now. Hold on. Okay. So then I wanted to discuss projects that I'm working on. So as of now, of course, I have the podcast going. You guys know that. You're watching the podcast. And it's a project that I'm super excited about, right? It is very time consuming, though, especially in filming these 40-minute long episodes. But I enjoy it. And I know that the Lord is in it, so I'm going to continue to do it. But in addition to that, I'm making vlogs, which isn't as time consuming because it's just kind of like filming a quick little video throughout my day, and so that's pretty fast. The only time consuming part about that is editing it at the end of the day. And so I have these two projects going on for social media that are pretty time consuming while also being a full-time college student. And I'm starting a home group, and I'm attending church, and I serve there, and I'm trying to keep relationships going. Like, I care about my friendships and I value those. So with everything in my schedule, I'm trying to implement balance. And keeping all of those things booked out in my calendar is really going to help me with that. Today, I woke up really early and I got most of the things I wanted to do done today. I didn't finish meal prepping yesterday, which is Sunday. And so I was planning on doing that today. And I ended up taking a nap after my classes. And so I missed my meal prep time period, which is okay. Honestly, like, I'm going to do that probably tomorrow. We will find a time to make up for it. But I have a lot going on project-wise. And so this is a fun adventure that you guys are going to be along on the ride with me for. That sentence was not very well formed, but yeah, you guys are going to be along for the ride with me. And I think that the Lord is going to bless me with the time that I need to do all of this, because all of the things that I want to do to glorify him. And they also meet desires of my heart that are like underneath God as well. Like education, I love to learn and I want to use it in the things that I want to do in the future. And a home group I'm starting because I want to lead a Bible study and I really want to be like a shepherd of other women. And I say shepherd because like the term pastor comes from the word shepherd, but like I want to lead and guide and direct and protect specifically like other girls and other women and help them pursue the Lord even more, because I think sometimes initially getting into that is the hard part. And I have a great community, but when I was first getting into it myself, it took a lot of dedication and devotion myself. And so I think having that in a community setting will be valuable not only to me, but to the girls that I'm inviting. So I'm super excited about the home group that I'm starting, but I'm using that to glorify God, as well as this podcast, which I feel was very God-led and God-ordained. And as of now, I don't have a ton of people who listen, but I know that if this is something God wants, he will grow my viewers and my listeners. But if he doesn't, then he already has the right people listening. So either way, I know God will use this. And then the vlogs are honestly just something that I'm throwing in to add to my YouTube channel. But I do think that they glorify God because I mention him almost in everything that I do. Like, the Lord is my focus. He is the desire of my heart. His will is my will. So like everything that I do comes back to like a mindset of being like, oh, I spent time with Jesus. Oh, like Jesus was in this and he gave me snow, or like he gave me a new friend. And so even my vlogs, I feel like reflect my daily living with the Lord. And so I'm doing all of these projects to glorify God. And because of that, I do think that he will give me the time that I need to get them done. As well as I've been really focused on eating healthier and doing things like that. And I think that he will help me to do that as well, because it's taking care of my body, which extends my life, and it's taking care of like what is literally called a temple. Like it is for him. So as long as I'm taking care of it, I think that he'll also make time for that. Whereas like I didn't do my meal prep today, but I did still eat healthy. And I think as long as I can get the meal prep done at some point this week, or I can consistently cook those meals, then I'm still going to meet those goals. And so the Lord is doing a lot in my life in regards to like projects and leading me and guiding me to do things for his purpose and for his will. And so I just wanted to discuss a little bit of that with you guys so that you guys also understand how busy I'm feeling. Like I don't have a job at the moment. I used to work full time. Like while I was in high school, I got a job when I was 14 and I worked full time until the end of junior year, like the summer before senior year. So I haven't really had much of a job since senior year. I was a preschool teacher for like the summer before college started. But the schedule was very overwhelming when college started. And it's not that I didn't have time, but I was more focused on relationships and I had enough money saved up that I didn't need a job. And so right now, I do not have a job and I need the money, but I think that it's also a part of the will of the Lord because I have so many other projects going on. So I have a feeling that he will provide for me in some way. And if I even get like a part-time job that I can fit into my schedule, then I would be very grateful for that. But it's crazy to me that I have so much going on when I don't even have a job. So I just wanted to let you guys know so that you have some insight into my life and what I'm doing. Okay. But let's also talk about the first week of spring semester. So I'm a freshman by year. So the only semester that I've been at my college is fall, which was last semester, fall of 2024. But I'm a junior by credit. So I take like junior classes and stuff. And so for spring semester, I realized that I don't have many classes with people that I know, or it didn't seem like that when I was like scrolling through Canvas. If you guys know what I'm talking about, like you can see who else is in your class on Canvas. And so I was like, well, I don't know many people. And I don't have a problem talking to people. I am such an extrovert. I love meeting new people. I like to introduce myself to people all the time, regardless of if I don't know anybody else there or not. And I really want to include people. So it's not that big of a deal for me. The only thing that I was thinking going into these classes was like, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I have friendships that already exist that I want to be able to maintain. And having the time to pour into other people is honestly a really big deal because I am so relationship oriented and I love people, but I also want to make sure that they feel valued. And so I feel like if I don't have enough time to pour into them, then I'm not being a good friend. And so that was my biggest concern, was like, if I grow my community, how am I going to balance everything and make everyone feel valued? Especially since I want to keep in touch with my old friends, but I also want to have new friends because I want to know people in my classes, you know? And so I was thinking that, and I was honestly kind of nervous about it because I was like, I don't have a problem meeting these people, but once they're in my community, I know that I want it to be a certain way. And so I don't know what I'm going to do. But honestly, it worked out. I did meet new people and I'm super excited about it. I love meeting new people. And the Lord has already made a way for me to find time to hang out with multiple of these people. So I am super excited that He's making a way for me to maintain old relationships while also growing new ones. And it's just so silly to me that I was like sitting there and I was like, oh, well, I'm kind of nervous about these classes because how am I going to have time, or like, how am I going to be able to do this, you know? And it was honestly just me being anxious over things that I didn't need to worry about because the Lord's got me. And like, if He wants me to be friends with somebody, He will make a way for me to spend time with them and to pour into them, but also be poured into by them. And that's what a good Christian community should be like. So that's kind of something that's happened with me recently. And I think that that's relatable for a lot of people. Like, I guess other people might not be as open to talking to others first, but I do think that everybody understands how time-consuming relationships can be in any sense. Like, I was literally thinking, and I was like, if I had a boyfriend right now, I don't think that I would be able to do everything that I'm wanting to do. And so I feel like that in itself was kind of like God being like, these are the things I want you to do right now, so do those. And so I'm grateful for that. But yeah, just know that the Lord is in relationships. He's in your time. He's in everything. And sometimes we just have to slow down and we have to recognize that. So that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. But I also wanted to talk about two specific people who made my day within the last week. They were new people that I met in classes. So actually one of them I kind of already knew. So I know of her and she knew of me, and we've talked like once, but we knew of each other through Instagram and through a mutual friend. But she talked to me to sit with me in marketing class. And so if you're watching this, shout out to you. Hello. I think you're great. I know I don't know you that well, but you're awesome. And so she made my day by honestly just wanting to sit with me in marketing, which I know sounds so silly and is so like probably elementary, and being like, oh, they want to sit with me. But it made my day, you guys, because she's just so sweet. And I guess like her taking the first step to initiate a conversation or like initiate being by me just made me really happy because I didn't have to be the first one. And I feel like a lot of times I'm the first one to initiate conversations and things, which is totally fine. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing, and it's a part of my strengths. But I appreciate it, and I think that it's a value when other people do that as well. And then the other person I met in Old Testament. So I walked in and I was like, this is going to be great. I don't know anybody in this class, so I'm going to pick somebody, which is crazy. The way that I was just like, I'm going to pick somebody and I'm going to sit by them. And I'm not even joking, you guys. I walked in this classroom and I was praying and I was like, Lord, please sit me by the right person. Help me not to sit down somewhere that you do not want me to sit. And I saw this girl and she looked really sweet. And so I was like, okay. And she was kind of in the front row. And so I was like, oh, she looks studious, right? Yeah, she looks studious. And there's certain classes that I talk in, but I still pay attention and I care about my grades. So, and I care about my education and learning, not even necessarily my grade, but like if I can retain the information. And so I also was like, it would be nice to sit by somebody who kind of cares enough, especially in Old Testament, because I was really excited for this class, even though it's a general education class, because I love the Word of God. So anyways, I sit down next to this girl and I just talked to her, and then actually she asked most of the questions. I was having a really tired morning and I was like, I don't know what to say because I'm tired. And like, you know when your brain is lagging and like it's just moving really slowly because you're sleepy? Yeah, that's what was happening. And so I was like, I don't really know what to say. And so we didn't talk that much, but we did talk. And then after class, I got her phone number. And today we hung out. And she is so cool. She's so much fun. She loves the Lord. And I think I'm going to have her on the podcast sometime soon, you guys. So that'll be really cool. But yeah, these two people really made my week within, well, like last week, I guess. They made my week last week, and it's flowed into this week. So I'm very grateful for those people. I'm grateful for the Lord bringing them into my life. And I'm just so excited to see what the Lord is doing, especially in my community, as I've been wanting to grow my Christian community even more this year. And so that's something I'm really excited about. So the next is how much I just want to recognize again that the Lord is making sure I feel appreciated in my community. Like, He brought these people into my life. He already gave me these pre-existing friendships that I have. And so He's making me feel appreciated, you guys. And I really hope that He's doing the same for you. If you don't feel like that, I want you to know that I appreciate you and that the Lord wants you to feel appreciated because He loves you and He cares for you. And He wants to meet the desires of your heart. And I know that we've talked about that in previous episodes, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in the following episodes that I'm going to record. But, like, He wants to give you joy. And honestly, though, like, if you place all of your desires and the things that, like, you love, or the thing you love most is the Lord, then, like, you lack no good thing. It says that in Psalm 33? Psalm 34, Psalm 34, 9 through 11, right? Hold on. Yeah, right? Where is it? Yeah, Psalm 34, 9 through 11 says, those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. And so if you're seeking the Lord, y'all, He's going to make you have joy, and He's going to make you feel loved, and you're going to see the goodness of Him. Like, you're going to feel like you lack nothing. And that might not be true. Like, it's not like you lack nothing, but I think that because your priorities are set on the Lord, it feels like you lack nothing and you have everything good that you could desire. So He has been making me feel very appreciated in my community, which is something I've been praying for. There was a moment recently where I was thinking that I felt alone in my faith. not lonely because I have a good community and I have friends, but I was feeling alone in my walk with the Lord because I have a lot of Christian friends, but I guess that I specifically felt like I wasn't growing and walking alongside them in pursuit of the Lord. Like we weren't reading the word together and we weren't praying. And the Lord has already changed that. I've been praying about it. And I already have multiple friends that this has changed with. And we're now like getting in the word together. And I'm starting my home group. And so there's a bunch of aspects that have changed since then where the Lord made sure that he answered my prayers. I don't feel alone in my faith anymore. And I didn't feel lonely already, but he made sure that I don't feel lonely either. So I'm just so grateful for that. Thank you, Jesus, for making me feel appreciated in my community and giving me what I need in it. He's so good, you guys. Okay. And then next, I typed this as a point, which is the Lord helping me to get the things I want to do done. But we kind of already discussed that, like alongside my projects where he's been helping me get things done. But I just kind of want to reiterate on that because I'm so grateful for it, you guys. Like there's only 24 hours in a day, and I feel like he's been helping me to wake up early so I can add hours to what I would usually have. He's been allowing me to fill my time slots so that I get everything that I want to do done. Like, he's given me organization. He's given me excitement and joy enough to wake up at 4:45 in the morning. Like, he's helping me, you guys. I don't think that I would be able to have this time if it wasn't for him. Like, if I didn't have some type of joy in knowing that I'm going to get to work on the projects and the things that he wants me to do in my life right now, I would not wake up at 4:45. Like, the only reason why I'm doing that, honestly, is because I know that there's so many things that I want to do and that he wants me to do. And so that's goal and reasoning to wake up at that time. So I'm so grateful for that. And I want you guys to know that if the things you do are glorifying to him, he will help you. He will make a way. He will guide you. He will equip you. And he will give you the time that you need. Okay. The next one was the Lord giving me joy. You guys, he's given me so much joy. I feel like one thing that people typically say about me is that I have the joy of the Lord. And I can tell you that that is probably, well, one, it's because I choose to pursue him. And in that, I lack no good thing, like I mentioned from Psalm 34. And so, honestly, there's times when I'm a little disappointed or when I'm a little sad. But like when I realize that my will is the Lord's will and what I desire is him, then I know that I have those things, right? And so I just have so much joy about that it overrules anything that I might be sad about. So I want you guys to know that when you pursue the Lord, he will give you joy. And I pray for that on a regular basis. Like when you spend time with the Lord, like the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So love and joy, right? So joy is what I'm going to focus on right this second. But like that is a fruit of the Spirit. And so one, he gives it to you. And two, the closer that you are to him, the more of these fruits that you're going to have in your life. So like if you are pursuing the Lord, I guarantee you that you're going to have more joy at least than you did before. I don't want to say that you're always going to be happy because there are trials, there are tribulations. You're not always going to be happy, but you do have the good things that you need, and he will give you more joy than what you had when you weren't seeking him. So there's that. But I also want to talk about love being a fruit of the Spirit really fast, because you guys, it's first for a reason, because God is love. In order to know God, you have to know love. And in order to know love, you have to know God. But knowing God comes first. So, like, there's a lot of verses about this, you guys. It's in John, it's in Galatians, it's in 1 Corinthians 13. Like, there's a lot. And I want to have an episode about that. But when you grow in the Lord, not only will you see joy as a result, but you'll see love, you'll see peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, y'all. Like, all of these things are the fruits of the Spirit, which means that He gives them to us when we pursue them. They are shown in our lives as symbols to glorify Him, right? But they're also things that I think He gives us because He loves us. And, like, love, joy, peace, like, all those are good things. And so, of course, He wants us to be happy because we're His children and we're His creation and we're so many other things to Him. So, like, He wants us to be happy or joyful. And so, of course, He's going to give us those things. But I just wanted to take a second and say that I am so grateful for the joy of the Lord, because I don't think I could make it through my life without the joy. Like, going through each and every day, I rejoice, I praise, and I love Him. And without Him giving me the joy, I think that my life would be miserable, y'all. Like, I could probably, if I really thought about it, I could be like, oh, well, I don't have a boyfriend, which shouldn't be my first example. But, like, if I wasn't focused on the Lord, honestly, that would probably be the first thing that I would be like, oh, well, that's disappointing. And I would mope around and I would be sad about it. But it doesn't matter, you guys, because the Lord has a plan for me. And because I know the Lord and I love Him and I want His will, I know that now is not a good time for me to be in a relationship. A relationship is something that should glorify Him. And if I'm not glorifying Him on my own, then I'm not going to glorify Him in a relationship. But furthermore, He has a good plan for me. In the future, He'll probably bring one for me, right? Like, it'll be one that glorifies Him, and it'll be in the timing where I have enough time to pour into somebody else. Because right now, y'all, I realized I do not have that time. But let's see, what's another example? I don't know. It's so hard for me to think of things because I'm so content, but that's the first one that I can think of because I have been disappointed and I have been sad about it before, but turning to God about it is what took away that sadness. And so I'm not worried about it anymore, but I have been disappointed about that. So I am trying to think of something else that would be a disappointment if I didn't have the joy of the Lord. But that's so hard because I'm so focused on Him. Let's see. Maybe not having a job. Okay, yeah, that is a good one. Because I, for the longest time, have found my success in, like, leadership positions and work. Because when I was 14, I got a job. I got promoted to trainer, and then I got promoted to shift lead, and then I got promoted to manager, and then I went to Chick-fil-A, and I got hired on in the leadership development program, and then I became a red shirt. At my Chick-fil-A, that means you're like an assistant team lead, which is basically a shift lead, but I was also leading WildSpark, which meant that I was teaching leadership skills to the directors there, right? And so, like, I've always been in leadership positions, and I've allowed those to define my success in the past. And I'm really grateful that I did those things because they really did teach me new things and give me wisdom that I wouldn't have without it. But I definitely do think that I was very focused on finding my success in those things rather than the Lord. And so I think that if I wasn't focused on the Lord, not having a job would be something I would be really disappointed in because I would be like, well, I have no successes. Like, I'm not in a leadership role right now. I don't have a boyfriend. Like, I have no successes. But then when I look at it through a lens of the Lord, I'm like, okay, well, I get to talk about the Lord on a regular basis. So that's a success in my book. I get to be a good friend, or at least I hope I get to be a good friend. That's a check or a success in my book. I get to learn in college. Like, that's a success because the Lord is growing me and he's equipping me to walk down the paths that he wants me to in the future. And so all of the things that I'm doing right now, I view as a success, but I think if I didn't have the joy of the Lord, I wouldn't be as focused on those things being a success, and I would instead be more focused on the disappointments in my life. And so I just want you to know that if you seek the Lord, you have a whole new lens of how you view the world. Like, when I sought the Lord, first of all, he heard and he answered. But second of all, he changed my perspective on the way that I was seeing things. And like, the circumstances might not have even changed, but my view of them did. And I now understand that it's for good. And so I do urge you to seek the Lord and to understand that his will is great, and those things that might be disappointments in your eyes are not disappointments in his, and he is putting you through this season for a reason. Hey, that rhymes. Season for a reason. But yeah, so I wanted to tell you guys about how grateful I am for the Lord giving me joy, but also how you can have the same joy of the Lord. Okay, and then I wanted to talk about the Lord's beautiful creation. Like, you guys, he created everything, and this is something that I think about a lot. Like, creation as a whole is so beautiful. Like, he created other people, which is amazing. They're beautiful, they're different in so many ways, and that's so cool. He created flowers and mountains and the ocean and animals and weather. Like, there are so many things to be grateful for, you guys. And so I think sometimes recognizing those things can also help bring you joy. And it also helps you to see the intricate details that God puts into things. So like, if he put intricate details in a flower or in creating man, then imagine the intricate details that are in the plan for your life. Like, everything is collectively working towards a greater product, right? And so I think it's just so cool to think about, and it makes you so joyful and grateful for your life. And so one thing that I recommend to be more grateful for creation and to recognize the beauty in it is to go outside. Like, I've been doing that a lot more within the last year, and I think that it's helped me to recognize a lot more the things that I am grateful for. Like, last summer, I think I was outside more than I ever was in another summer, except for when I was like really little and I played outside. And it was great. I was moving my body. Like, I played pickleball a lot. I went swimming. It was great. I went on picnics and walks. And so that's what I say. Like, go outside more often. And I know it's kind of cold right now. I don't know where you live, so it might not be cold. But where I live, it's been icy, snowy, and cold. And so it's harder to do that. But I also went outside the other day in the snow. And the snow was something that I was grateful for. Like, I personally love snow. And we don't get it very often where it's like good snow that you can play with and like make a snowman with. It's usually like ice, you know? And so whenever we had a snow day, I was like, oh, Jesus created snow and he gave me snow. Like, it's so exciting to know that he created these things, and there's so many things that we can do with them, and he created them because they have another purpose. But of course, he also wants us to take pleasure in them and have joy about it. So that's what I realized about the snow. But I do recommend, like, when it's warmer outside, going on walks and looking at nature. You can pray. You can listen to worship music. You can listen to podcasts. You can listen to this podcast. Like, going on nature walks and spending time with the Lord is one of the best ways to recognize how beautiful creation is. Secondly, is a picnic. Like, take food out there, enjoy it. I recommend whole, healthy foods because, one, Like if you're eating something directly that God created instead of some like junk food, I feel like you're going to be way more appreciative of what you have. But maybe that's just me. Like maybe you would be really happy with your bag of chips. But for me, because I'm more focused, I guess, on eating healthier foods, I would be more grateful for the things that I know God put on this earth for us to eat, like specifically, which like I know potatoes were there for us to eat. I just think that chips are really bad for you. But I like just think it's a great opportunity to thank God for the food that he's made, for beautiful weather, for the environment, for peace. Like, I cannot tell you how much peace I experience when I just sit outside sometimes and like read my Bible or worship or like eat and pray, you know? And so I think all of those things can also really help you to recognize the beauty in creation and like the things that God did. In fact, I was reading Genesis 1 and 2 yesterday for a discussion post in Old Testament. And so I was reading about creation, and you guys, it's just so beautiful. And there's a lot of theories that were created about it in addition to that. And so thinking about those, like, it's a deep train of thought. And I think that it required a lot of intricate details, but God did it, you guys. It's so cool. So that's something I wanted to talk about as well. But then I want to talk about the hope and excitement I have for what the Lord has planned. So this kind of ties into everything I've been talking about. But the Lord is just so good. And I have so much excitement for what is to come and what is coming in this season and what he's just doing. Like his overarching plan, his will, like all of it, y'all. It is so good. And I am so excited for the plan that he has in my life. And I've totally mentioned this in another podcast, but it's exciting. Like, just think about it. I could become a lawyer, which is one of my goals, or I could open a school, which is another one of my goals. And that one I know as a fact I will 100% be doing. I refuse to let anything come in the way of that one because I feel like that one was God being like, hey, you're doing this. So I refuse to let anything come in between that one. And I really want to become a lawyer as well. But in addition to that, like, I could have kids. I could live on a farm. I could, of course, get married before I have kids. But all of these things. And so, like, thinking about what the Lord is going to do is so good. And I don't want to say, like, oh, I'm thinking about these things and I'm idolizing them. But, like, whatever the Lord has planned for me, even if it's not any of those things, I am so excited for because I know that his will is so good. And anything that he has planned, it's going to be good, y'all. Like, it's going to be good. If it doesn't look good, he's not done yet. I've been hearing that a lot lately, and I don't think that's not specifically in scripture, but it's something that's been said a lot. And honestly, I don't disagree with it because, like, there's a reason for everything. And then in Ecclesiastes, it says everything will be made beautiful in its time. And so, like, if it's not beautiful yet, it will be. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I'm so excited for what is to come, but also for what he's already doing. And I'm excited for you guys in that same aspect as well. So, the next and last thing that I want to discuss is that I had trouble sleeping at the beginning of last week. And it wasn't because I was like having nightmares or like anything bad. I was just staying awake and like staring at the ceiling, and I was filled with joy and excitement for the next day. And like I couldn't fall asleep because I had so much on my mind. And I felt like that was honestly a gift from God because he was filling me with the joy and the excitement for what he wanted me to do in the next day and for what was to come. And so even though sleep is important and it is good, I do think that there was some goodness in what was happening, because it gave me time to think about what I wanted to do, how I was going to use it. And a lot of it was honestly for the podcast. So it was like, oh, I'm so excited to film a podcast episode tomorrow, or I'm so excited to edit the podcast episode tomorrow. And so it was all like excitement for something new that I felt like God was bringing to fruition, and I was following his will. And so that's something that I really realized, was that like when you're doing things for the Lord, I feel like you're filled with so much joy and excitement. But I do think that there can also be like an underlying fear, which is your flesh. It's not the Lord. So we reject that fear. But I do think that when the Lord tells you to do something and it's like out of your comfort zone, or it's not something that you're used to, you might have a little bit of fear. And we talked about this in my very first episode, but like I was a little worried to start this podcast. I was like, nobody's going to listen to it. It's going to be a waste of time. Like there's all these factors about it, right? And then I realized that that fear is not of the Lord, and that he has a purpose for it. And so I was just filled with so much joy and excitement thinking about what his purpose for it is, and how excited I was to dive into it so that it could be used for his purpose. And so I just want you guys to know that if you are experiencing any fears about things that you feel like you're supposed to do as a part of the purpose for your life to align with God's will, then I rebuke that. Like, rebuke that and face it head on. Like, you can do it. I know you can do it. I'm here making this podcast, so I know that you can beat fear, you guys. Fear is not of the Lord, and the Lord can do anything. So, with the Lord is your strength. The joy of the Lord as well is your strength. So, you can absolutely get over fear with the Lord's help, which is what I had to do. But you can absolutely get over it. And so don't let it hold you back. I urge all of you to jump into the things that the Lord is calling you to. Like, if you wait and just keep saying, like, there will be a time for this, there will be a time for this, I don't think you're ever going to do it. Like, you just need to jump into it. And there might be other circumstances where it's like, okay, like you genuinely do need to wait for the right time, and you know that you're waiting for the Lord's timing, right? But I do think that there's other times where we're just like, well, I'm really busy right now, and you just like pile up excuses to not do it. And that's when I need you guys to learn or accept that you cannot continue to put it off. Like, you can't make excuses, right? But if you know that it's not the Lord's timing, that's a different circumstance. But if you're just holding yourself back, even if it's because you think that you're not wise enough, or you're too young, or like you don't have what you need for it, I am telling you, don't let it hold you back. Like, the Lord equips everybody. He equipped the disciples. He equipped Moses, y'all. Like in Exodus, I don't know if you guys have read through Exodus, but he equipped Moses to go back to Egypt and get the Israelites, right? Like, first of all, Moses could hardly speak. Like, Aaron had to translate for him at a lot of times. So, like, the Lord equipped Moses. And so, I actually want to read Exodus as an episode now. Oh, please. That would be so much fun. Okay, so we're going to do that. But, y'all, there's just so much goodness. And I'm so glad that we've had this conversation, because this is a lot of stuff that the Lord has been doing. And the Lord is just so good. And I feel like this gives you guys a little bit of insight into my life and into the things that the Lord is doing in my life. And so I'm so excited to share those things with you guys. And honestly, I want to hear what the Lord is doing for you guys too. Like, that is something I really care about. And I know that this is a YouTube channel, and like, you might not want to type it in the comments, but I would be very, very grateful if you did, because I love to see what the Lord is doing. I care about each of you. Even if I don't know you, I do care about you. The Lord loves you. I love you. So leave a comment about what the Lord's doing in your life, or like one of these things that stood out to you or that you want to focus on more. Because I think that we can also use this channel as a community, you guys. Like, if you leave a comment, I'll respond. There might be a time and a day when the comments become too many for me to respond. But at the moment, if you leave a comment, I will respond. So please leave a comment. And I just love you guys. And I'm so grateful that you guys listen to my podcast. So yeah, I'm going to go record another episode now. So, okay, I love you guys. Bye.